Hey, KS Guncom, it's Lyle Cadell here, and I'm glad that you joined us for this live fire episode, live fire episode 10, and it's not brought to you by anybody other than KS Guncom. Join us for this live fire episode, KS Guncom, live fire episode 10, and it's for some reason I'm getting. Other than... Hang on here, there we go. I turned off the reverb, and my fault. But anyhow. It's not brought to you by anybody other than KS Guncom. So tonight we're excited, though, for this live fire episode to have with us somebody all the way from the natural state of Arkansas. I keep giving him a hard time. I love him to death. He's a friend of mine, but he's also going to be coming to Tallgrass Shooting Sports out by Manhattan. And Mark Booher is the owner of Barritus Defense, and I'll let him introduce himself and let KS Guncom get to know you, Mark, who you are, and how you got to Barritus Defense, brother.
Well, hey, Law, it's good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Man.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so my name's Mark Booher, and I run a security, we call it a security training and consulting company because that's a lot of what we do. We're based in Fayetteville, Arkansas, but we're active, and I think I've been in over 30 states, and we've done work for the DOD, Department of Defense, Department of Justice. We've done consulting work with Fortune 500 companies, and I've probably trained officers from over 60 police departments and police academies around the country. So, and then we also have a pretty robust training program for the public that we run, and part of that is bringing us up to Kansas in April 27th and 28th for our 2-day tactical carbine and pistol course. So we're really excited about that.
So tell us a little bit about. I mean, you are not just your run-of-the-mill instructor out there that threw up a shingle, because there's plenty of them. You have quite a background. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I spent about a little over 6 years in the Army doing force protection, security, and intelligence operations around the world. And I've been to, I've traveled, deployed to East and West Europe. I've gone to the Middle East and trained with the Israeli members of the Israeli Defense Force and counterterrorism and security methodologies, and deployed with every branch of the military and some multinational forces. So I've done a lot with the British and some other groups, hung out a little bit with the French Foreign Legion, and done other training. When I got out of the military, finished up college, and went to law school here in Arkansas. And I was a prosecuting attorney for 6 years. And here in my jurisdiction, and so I've tried I've had a lot of jury trials, and I prosecuted a lot of hundreds, maybe even thousands of cases, many of them violent, involving things like homicide and assault, battery, things like that. So in 2013, I left the prosecutor's office. I started a company called Rubicon Training Group, and we've reflagged since then, and it's Barritus Training. And so yeah, and so we've just been going. So we do really three, I guess I call it buckets, but emphasis where we deliver our services in training and consulting. And number one, we do a good portion of that with law enforcement, doing counterterrorism training, and also some kind of a little bit of investigation, interrogation kind of stuff. But that's our main thrust with them. We also are starting to do some counter ambush training, because there's definitely a need. We'll talk about that a little later in terms of tactics and things that, I mean, the law enforcement community is simply not getting. They write about it, they talk about it, they know they need it, but they're not getting it, and the statistics are showing that. So we're getting involved in that. We do a lot of church security training and consulting, and as well as businesses designing active shooter response plans and things like that, doing physical security site assessments, a little bit of that. But the most emphasis is on the church security training, helping them stand up their security team, developing one from scratch, or if they've got one, dialing them in and making them better, and bringing some kind of organization and methodology to their really creating a program, not just a team. And then our big focus with the public would be, anything that's going to make you harder to kill. So we do rifle courses, we do tactical pistol courses, close quarter combat knife, empty hand, just all that entails. And so, so it's a lot, but it keeps us busy. Yeah. We're pretty thankful for it.
The interesting part, coming from a prosecutor standpoint, you just, of course, you open up a little bit about the LEO end of it, and all that. And I want to give you a chance to kind of advertise your wares there on that too, so that
wares. I like that.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's interested, that they can get a hold of you. The counter ambush, in fact, we would love to have that here in Kansas. You're fixing to go to Oklahoma and do the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, aren't you?
Yeah. We're developing a really good relationship with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and we have a decent relationship with the Oklahoma Florida Gang Investigators Association, and great agencies and organizations there. And so we've been doing some counterterrorism training. We did that with the gang investigators, and then we're doing that with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and then we're doing our counter ambush instructor certification there. It's a 3-day course. We're running it in Texas. We've got it booked in Wisconsin. We've got Georgia and Florida looking at it, and hopefully going to run it in Missouri and Virginia as well.
Awesome.
Pennsylvania. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of interest, that we're getting from that, because we've done some writing, we've done some things that we've kind of gotten in the hands of the law enforcement community, and they're seeing, hey, they already know the needs there. They're doing their best that they can to deal with it, but when someone can kind of bring in a system to show you what you're missing and how to fill that gap, it's a pretty easy decision to make.
Now, when you're coming here to Manhattan, or to Tallgrass, which is right outside Manhattan, that's owned by Mike Irvin, by the way. Tallgrass Shooting Sports. It's actually on the property of Living Water Ranch. But what are you bringing in there? What are you going to be teaching for 2 days, man?
We're going to do tactical carbine and pistol. It's going to be combat nation class.
So, Joe Sixpack, what can I expect when I walk in? And I mean, what's my expectation level?
Well, your expectation level is you're going to have an incredible experience. Really. Yeah. We bring, our goal is to bring high value training, dynamic training to the public. Our mission is to integrate the private security-minded citizen into the security apparatus, and we do that with relevant training. And so it's going to be a good event. As far as the itinerary, you can expect that we're going to come in and we're going to walk you around these weapons. We're going to dial in your mechanics, your shooting platform. We're going to run you through the basics that any good class, I don't care whether it's my class or someone else's class, there's just certain things that they should teach you and start you off with. And that's just running the gun, keeping it hot, dealing with problems and malfunctions, creating good shooting mechanics, and so we're going to cover that. And then from there, we're going to dial you in and getting you shooting faster and more accurate than you ever have. And then once we get everyone dialed in on that, then we will begin integrating movement and tactics into that, which is the kind of whether it's all of our classes, we put a big emphasis on tactics. That word tactic, has just been a much abused and misused word in our industry. And I mean, I would get it. I mean, that happens in all language. You have a certain word that means something, and then after a while, it starts getting attached to other things. And that works for a while, but then after a while, that word can get kind of diluted where it doesn't really mean much. And then pretty soon you have tactical knives, tactical pants, tactical shoelaces, tactical this, and pretty soon, I don't know if we even know what that word means anymore. But we certainly integrate, and we will show our folks that come and train with us the difference between techniques and tactics. You need to know both. You need to have an acumen for both, and they need to be integrated because they're part and parcel with each other. They are different.
And I think that's where I want to get your kind of philosophy that you're already segueing into it. Your philosophy of training may not be like everybody else's philosophy of training out there, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's people out there that, I mean, we probably are more aligned with than others. I know there's definitely some that wouldn't see it the same way I do. But, our training philosophy is, you've heard that phrase, fit to fight. You got to be fit to fight. And, you got to be able to bench press 500 pounds and pull, a Volkswagen bus. And you got to be able, what I'm saying is, and there are definitely classes, there are definitely instructors out there that when you come, you really need to be in some pretty good shape. And I totally agree with that. To the standpoint is, I think everybody needs to be in the best shape that they can be. Well, here's what happens is, if you're on a fire team in a military, if you're in a rifle squad and you're on a fire team, or you're an LEO and you're out on patrol and you're in your 20s and 30s, yeah, I mean, you need to be strong as an ox, as have the stamina of a horse, because who knows what you're going to get involved in, and you got to carry your weight. You may, if your buddy goes down, you got to carry his too. I totally get that. But the thing is you never outgrow your need for self-defense. I don't care whether you're 17 or 70, but your abilities and capabilities are going to change with age. It's just going to happen. I don't care how good of shape you are. It's going to happen. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have things that don't heal right. You're going to get degenerative conditions that have nothing to do with how well you took care of yourself. Some of it can be hereditary. I mean, I've had 3-4 surgeries, and and I'm in my 40s, and I could still do a lot of things just as good, maybe even better than in my 20s. But it takes me about a week to recover if I do that. And so, so the long point, I'm kind of maybe over talking it, but the point is that while our need for self-defense never changes, our capabilities do. And so you have to find a way to win at where you're at. If you've got a broken leg and you're out in public, you still have the same, your need to protect yourself doesn't change just because you have a broken leg, but your capability to do that has changed. And so you have to find a way to work around within your limitations to the best of your ability. And that's where we make sure we impress that on you. So, we have some folks that will come to our classes, and maybe they're a little intimidated because they think it's going to be physical, and it may well be physical, but it's physical to the best of what you can do. And we're not really interested in making you compete with other people or do the same things necessarily that you did in your 20s, because your team's counting on you, that type of thing.
Right.
So, I would say that if people look at our Instagram accounts or Facebook or some of our videos, and if they see things that they look and they say, man, I don't know if I can do that. No, you can do that. We'll show you how to do it, and we'll show you how to do it safely and to get the most out of yourself. Because I don't care where you are, you're capable more than you think you can do. And we're going to help you do that in a safe way that certainly doesn't hurt you and looks out for you. And definitely, absolutely, we're not going to shame or haze you.
That's awesome.
Alex and I were, we're military guys. We did that when we were 19, and all that rites of passage and stuff, and that's fine. And if people want to do that, there's certainly tracks and pipelines to have that type of treatment. But we don't hammer people, we don't shame people, because in the end, I mean, we're also out there to have a good time and build relationships with people, and we're not about making people look small at all.
That's good. It's good. It's good philosophy. And I appreciate that as one that comes from a somewhat handicapped background, if you will. I deal with some pretty significant, a lot of people don't know that, but some significant health issues, but some of which are diabetic related and stuff. And so I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
I think when it comes to the training community, we miss that, because the everyman, that's kind of how I refer to people as Joe Sixpack, or the everyman that doesn't have Solomons and a beard and tattoos, just the everyman that's walking around with a G43 or a shield in their pants. Or they may not even be walking around with that, for that matter. But those folks, and maybe they've got a rifle build that they've got, or they got their first rifle that it's a Ruger AR 5.56, whatever. Oh, you don't have a Daniel Defense, man? What's up with that? Where's your Daniel Defense and your aim point?
Right.
And then they just feel like, well, what the heck? I mean, why? I don't want to go train. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you where our heart is on this. I mean, when I was a prosecutor and I was dealing with victims of violent crime, and I've got victims in my office, and they're scared to death that if they testify against this perpetrator, they're going to be killed, or and they're looking at me and they're saying, "What? We're scared to death. What can you do? How can you help us? What can?" And the answer was, I didn't have anything to tell them. I mean, I could say, "Hey, if he kills you, we'll arrest him. If he violates the protective order, we'll arrest him. We can maybe put him in jail." But that was probably the biggest letdown about being a prosecutor, is that it was so reactive. I mean, I never got involved until there was a dead body on the ground, or somebody had, their head crushed in, or, or something else like that, beat up or raped or something like that. I mean, that's when I got involved. And the whole idea of I didn't have an answer for them. And that was one of the things that led me out of it, is I wanted to have an answer, because I knew I had the knowledge. I knew I had the background. I knew I could put these training packages together for these people. And so back to what you mentioned about the guy that just has the M&P shield, he's just wanting to protect his family, man. I mean, he's not trying to start a YouTube channel and look cool and get 511 sponsorships and impress other people. I mean, these are just the people that come hang out with us. I mean, they're just normal folks that love their family, that want to be safe, and they just want to learn how to do it. And what they find is they get to do a lot of cool stuff, and we make great friendships, and we have a good time together, and we're learning valuable life-saving skills. I don't know what else is. I mean, I'd rather do that than golf any day. That's just me.
Yeah. No, I greatly appreciate. Hey, I want to shout out to those that are in the live chat right now. We got some that are watching. I know one guy, Mayday Arms, is on, and I know Mitchell. I appreciate him. He actually is a reservist like yourself. So, and he's also an instructor here in our local area, and so I want to shout out to Mitchell. But go check out Mayday Arms, by the way, if you're searching around on YouTube. Excuse me, and I won't I won't give out too much information for Mitchell, but as much as can be. I don't want to divulge anything that doesn't need to be divulged, but he does a good job for our country, as well as in the defensive aspects around here in the area. Hopefully, or Mitchell, I don't know, are you going to be able to make it, by the way, to be with Mark? That'd be awesome if you'd be able to be out there.
That would be cool.
He's a Marine.
I won't hold it against him.
Do
No,
what?
I said I won't hold that against him.
Yeah,
No, I'm
but
kidding.
no,
Hey, we've
he's
had a
good.
lot of former Marines and from all the branches. They've come to hang out with us, and I've deployed with Marines. I mean, they're good people, man.
That's right. One of the things that I wanted to just, I know you and I've talked about, privately and stuff, but
Mhm.
and we talked this afternoon on IG Live. We talked about tactics and techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Now, explain to us the difference between, for just a primer, if you will, between tactics and techniques.
Well, your technique is going to be the precise physical skill and the application of. Well, let me actually back up and talk about a tactic first, because then that would make more sense. So, your tactic is how an objective is accomplished. How do you accomplish your objective? The technique would then be the precise physical skill that is used, in application of that tactic. And they are the words are important there. The differences are important there. And so we've got a lot of folks that are teaching techniques, which you need to know technique. And it kind of gets back to what we were talking about. They'll use the word tactic. They'll say tactical this, tactics this, but they're not really explaining tactics or teaching tactics. And that is, the counter ambush stuff is maybe for another time, but that's one of the problems that's plaguing law enforcement right now, is that they don't have the tactics they need, and some of them don't even know that. And so when we kind of get with them and shed light on that, it's pretty apparent. And so that's why the counter ambush stuff is resonating with them, because they see the need for the tactics. They have a lot of techniques. They're told, same thing in martial arts or self-defense. There's a lot. I mean, all of it is techniques. There are some systems that have tactics, but very few. And so that's why you're memorizing these 12-step, someone grabs you like this, you do all this. Someone grabs you like, you do all this. And, those techniques are important, but, what is the tactic? So this is how I begin every CQC class we do, or combatives class. I ask the question, do you agree with me that no matter how well trained you are, no matter how strong you are, that there's always someone out there that is stronger, faster, and more skilled than you? And what do you think the answer is?
Running by me again.
I said, I'll always ask them the question. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, I was listening, but I wasn't.
I know. I have that effect of people get enthralled, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So I'll ask them, at the onset of the class I'll say, go ask your martial arts. Well, first I'll say, do you agree with me that no matter how fast you are, how skilled you are, how strong you are, that there's always somebody out there that's stronger, faster, and more skilled than you? Yeah. And to date, no one's ever answered anything other than yes. I mean, the answer is always yes. There's always somebody out there that's better, stronger, more skilled than you. So I said, well, go talk to your defensive tactics or your martial arts guy, or whatever word they're using now. Go ask him, well, how do I defeat that person? How do you do it? And that goes for gun classes too. How do you do it? Yeah. How do you do it? And the answer is, well, there's an answer to it. And most of your martial arts guys don't have it. They don't have that answer. And but we have the answer, and we know that we're going to do it through superior tactics. And that works in warfare, even when you're outnumbered, even if you're against a superior force. That we believe that all things being equal, the person with superior tactics wins. or has a good shot of winning at least. And that is the only way, because training harder is not going to be the answer. I mean, you do need to train as hard as you can. That's not the answer, because there's always going to be someone out there more skilled. You get injured. Anyway, I could beat that horse long into the depth. So I would say that I have found when people, come up and say what they appreciate about us is we are bringing that tactical education to them. All right, we are integrating that into our courses, and we are helping them develop this tactical education. And it's really predicated. I'm sure you were going to ask me, what's the aspect of your tactical principles that you teach? And so, thank you for asking, Lau. I'll tell you very quickly. Obviously we get more into this in the class, and we'll talk about this in April. But our courses are based on close quarter or warfare fighting, war doctrine. Man, I'm struggling with the language today.
It's all good.
More than
you in the natural state. It's all good.
But it's based on war fighting doctrine. And you say, well, I'm not a soldier, I'm not a Marine, what do I care? We're not talking about that. We're not talking about actual, going and fighting Taliban and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about tried and true principles of close quarter conflict that have been developed and validated through centuries, right? So it doesn't matter whether we're armed with swords or we're armed with M14s or M4s or flintlocks. It doesn't matter. The principles are applicable. And so we take the main principles that, we take the military principles that may not be as applicable to us as concealed carry holders, but there are definitely at least 4 that are. And that would be, number 1 would be tactical maneuver, right? That is the fact that, fire without movement is indecisive. We have to, if I want to end the conflict, and that is assuming I can't get away, I'm going to have to close in and neutralize that threat. And so my ability to do that, and to do it well is going to probably determine whether or not I win the day or not. So exposed movement, we need to decisively end the engagement, which means we're going to have to close that distance. So we have to do it in a way that protects ourselves. So if we are moving in an exposed manner, that's going to be fatal. So, we have to, within that tactical maneuver, we have to protect ourselves from all attacks. We have to be able to neutralize the enemy's ability to hurt us. And then we have to dominate the combat, dominate the space or the engagement. Can
you illustrate that? Just say, for instance, within the space of a home, just to give people a data point.
Well,
during a home invasion, how do I implement those things right there?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me back that up, because that would be I could do that, but that would, if somebody hasn't been exposed to the principle, it might be a little vague. So let's talk about something that almost everybody can kind of wrap their head around. So let's talk about wars of attrition, as far as our movement. So, back in until the 1800s, really kind of the Civil War, we used to line each guys up on the battlefield, and we would march to each other, and then there would be that clash, and whoever had the biggest superior numbers would typically win the day, right? I mean, you just kill more of them than they kill of you, and you win the battle. That is what almost or most martial arts and combative systems are based off of that tactic. I mean, think about boxing. I mean, what is boxing about is I got to hit that guy harder, and I got to hit him more, and I got to knock him out or damage him before he damages me. And almost every other martial arts system or combative is based on that. Now, it can be effective, but that goes back to what we said about if you're stronger, if you're faster, if you're more skilled, then you probably are going to win the fight. But if you're not, then you're going to have a problem. So let's talk about movement, just like in a gunfight where you close by fire and maybe you don't do a frontal assault, but maybe you envelop them and you flank them and you suppress and you move. You can do those same things by yourself. Maybe a little bit more difficult, but you can do it. And you can do that in a fist fight. You can do that in a knife fight. And so once you learn these principles, we teach principles in a system where everything's interconnected and related. So then once you learn that system, then you can apply that to gunfight, knife fight, fist fight, pillow fight, whatever you want to, whatever kind of fight that you're going to have, because that is based on tactics, and that is how you overcome someone who's faster and stronger,
And now just a clarification too, you have a martial arts background as well. I mean, you have a mixed bag that you're bringing.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not poo-pooing martial arts. I love martial arts. I've done it my whole life. I've done several different styles and things like that. So I'm not saying that those martial arts can't be effective. Like boxing can be effective. I've seen plenty of dudes in a bar or whatever. I mean, it is effective, but you will always run the risk. If that's all you have, all you have is the technique and you don't have that maneuver down, then you will always be buttoned up against the fact that you might be going toe to toe with someone who's stronger and faster and more skilled. And then you're going to have a problem. How are you going to deal with that? I mean, what is your strategy in dealing with that? Our strategy is we're going to maneuver in a way that, that we're protected from all attacks. Absolutely. Yes, that is possible. Protected from all attacks. And then we're going to neutralize their ability to attack us. Right.
So you're saying, just to bring a light moment to it. So you're saying that when I do the tactical dance out on the range while I'm doing a tactical reload.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably not a good thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, we don't do that. We don't do a whole lot of that stuff. I mean, if we're going to have you move, I mean, this is our training paradigm is first we will, whether it's combatives or with weapons, first we will isolate the form or the mechanics. So we'll do that on the flat range. So if we're going to dial in your shooting, let's dial in your shooting first. And let's not complicate it with a bunch of dancing around and superfluous movement. Then once we have the form down, then we will add movement, and the battle drill. So movement from cover to cover, moving, suppressing, bounding forward, bounding back with, single partners, whatever, and then you move into the free flow, which would be, if it's with guns, you would do force on force with either simunition or airsoft, or if it's combatives, it would be, empty hands or training knives or whatever the implement is. So that is the way to go. And so, when you kind of do this hodgepodge and you don't really know why you're doing it and you're trying to integrate maneuver, but you're isolating them on a range with 10 other people, so you can only move a little bit, but I don't know what your goal is, or what you're accomplishing, because it's not realistic. It's not. I mean, I get it, but I think if you have a real training paradigm, I think you can avoid bad habits and problems that comes with that.
Now, when you're going to come into the class, up here, you'll teach these principles, four principles.
Yeah. So we covered one. There's three more, but
okay, go ahead with them.
Well, then principle number 2 would be to find or seek an advantage and exploit it and deprive the threat of his ability to have an advantage over you. And that one, bro, we could make all kinds of people mad if we wanted to, but I'll just leave it there. We And that is a mindset. And that is a mindset, is to seek the advantage. And it sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, man, that is, there's a lot of people that are not doing that. There's a lot of self-defense instructors that are not drilling that into their people's mindset or paradigms. You know, you always seek the advantage. Here's the best example is your advantage is in carrying a weapon over empty hands. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, the advantage is to the person with the weapon over empty hands.
So let me ask you this then. So if we teach a class, and I say we, somebody, John Q, instructor, Lyle teaches a class on empty-handed, or what? Maybe I would just say without a weapon.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah,
empty-handed skills without a weapon. Am I truly disadvantaging the person?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, yeah. So we teach empty hands, but we never do it as a standalone application. We teach weapons, and then we will add the empty hands so that if you are separated from your weapon, or you lose it, or you drop it, or it malfunctions, or whatever happens, or you can't get to, you've got to get to it. The empty hands is there to help you get to the weapon. Now, it's not always it doesn't always have to be a gun. That's what people say is, oh, well, what if I'm traveling and, you know, I'm in a country and, you know, I can't fly with guns? Improvise weapons. So, I mean, we will improvise weapons. There's no reason why you can't have something that gives you an advantage. And I'll just say this, and I know this is being recorded, and, you know, maybe this will come back to haunt me, but I mean, this is the reality of it. I'm 225 pounds. I'm 6'5", and I'm a pretty good shape, strong guy. And there's just no way that that a girl that's 90 pounds or some soccer mom is, that's 100 pounds dripping wet is going to punch me and really damage me. I mean, she might get lucky. She might, I mean, but those are that's just the truth of it. And anybody that, is going to sell you a bag, these magic beans and say, hey, come in 2 nights a week and we're going to get your heart rate, get you, punching these bags and getting you to do these little things. And, that's setting them up for failure. That's setting them up to get hurt. So what we do in our women's self-defense, we teach them to use weapons, either blade or improvised weapons first, and to always have one on them and to know how to use it. And then the empty hands comes to where if you get jumped and you couldn't get to it, or to create space so that you can transition to your weapon, that is the deal, seeking the advantage. So getting back to your point, are those martial arts instructors wrong? They're not wrong in teaching a set of techniques, but their methodology is tactically unsound. I'll tell that to anybody's face. You're tactically unsound because you should be teaching your students to, first and foremost, they should always be having a weapon. They should always know how to use it. They should always have access to it. And that's what the focus should be on, is gaining, seeking, and exploiting the advantage. And then if they are disadvantaged, then, okay, the empty hands can come in and we can focus a little bit on that. Otherwise, you're teaching them to start out and to take confidence in starting from a position of being disadvantaged. That's tactically unsound. And I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anybody on that.
And I watched here today. This is kind of interesting. I watched this here today. And this happened within our own state. And it was on YouTube, and they let the video out. Happened in Lawrence. And there was a male officer was taken on by a larger individual. He was trying to arrest him, pull him out of the vehicle. Well, actually, the guy came out of the vehicle and took on the officer. And the male, I would say, the officer was approximately 6 foot, 200 pounds, maybe, maybe.
Wow.
And the male that came out of the vehicle was large. He was a big dude, and he was mad.
Yeah.
And he literally flipped that officer over on his back to the ground in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And the other officer, the backup officer, came around, and this is actually still an ongoing case here in the Lawrence area, but came up and it was a female officer, and she thought she had pulled her taser, and she pulled her firearm
Mm-hmm.
and shot the dude while he was on top of the officer.
Oh, wow.
And it ended up not be, it was non-fatal, but and that's still ongoing within the courts, but as to whether or not she was at fault for firing her weapon. But if she, my question is, I don't know, and I'm not going to sit and litigate that case here on YouTube. That's not my job.
Yeah.
But bringing what you just said, I mean, these guys are abounding with tools,
Mm-hmm.
and if there would have been none, if that, taser or firearm, whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to litigate that. But
Mm-hmm.
if there would have been nothing, God only knows what would have happened to that officer. He could have sat there and beat that officer's head into the stinking concrete.
Yeah.
And killed him.
Yeah. I mean, so even taking the law enforcement stuff out of it, just think about a concealed carry holder who doesn't have a weapon. Oh, so we'll just say a citizen that doesn't have a weapon. I mean, you have a strength and size disparity. I mean, no, that's a cop. That's a guy that's got some training and it's probably in good shape. And I mean, I don't know the deals, but yeah, so you have to find the advantage, and you have to exploit it. And so we teach people to do that. And it sounds like a simple thing, but not everybody's doing that. My town's full of martial arts guys that are not doing that.
Would you consider OC spray as something as a put in people's hands?
I mean, look, man, anything that works and that can be viable, if you know what you're doing and how to use it, it can work. I'm not a big fan of that stuff, just because I've seen dudes that spaced out on, on dope that can fight through that stuff. Here's the deal: is everybody can fight through a certain amount of pain. I mean, you have to neutralize their ability to hurt you. And oftentimes that kind of comes through by creating an injury. I mean, you can fight through pain. You can't fight through an injury if it's debilitating enough.
Now say that again. Say that point again.
Well, our tactical kind of paradigm is that, we're not trying to win by causing more pain. People can fight through pain. You got people who are doped up that can fight. I've seen fight through tasers, OC spray, and they keep coming. Well, even a gunshot wound, right? I mean, that can happen depending on where it's at. So people can fight through pain. One thing they can't fight through is debilitating injury, like something that breaks and compromises your structure, your physical structure. Bro, you can't fight through that, right?
So let's put it in the that little 100-pound soccer mom. If she picks up a ballpoint pen and shoves it in, I'm not being graphic, but shoves it in the eyeball of a dude, that might make a difference. You think?
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Yeah, that makes a big difference. I mean, you
kicking him in the crotch. Yeah, that hurts. Yeah, we can all of us guys will raise our hand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it hurts.
But
you might get lucky. You might drop a guy. You can. There's certainly, that is a possibility. So, I mean, you gotta remember. I mean, I'm not saying that other stuff doesn't work. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying from a tactical,
I get you.
standpoint of exploiting the advantage and being decisive. You've got to look at the bigger picture and kind of get beyond techniques and look in how you apply those things. So
number three.
Yeah,
what's number three?
Number three would be, tactical decision making. So, there's an art and a science to tactics. what is a science? Science is anything that's observable and repeatable. Those are things. So, when it comes to shooting mechanics, that's the science of how to shoot. You can take anybody, and if you kind of get the right breath control, trigger squeeze, they get the sights in alignment, good sight picture, all that stuff, you're going to improve somebody's shooting. How somebody enters a room, if they should enter the room, when to enter a room, those would be tactics that would be more of the art of it. How do you maneuver? How do you use a piece of cover? When do you move to that piece of cover? And how do you do it? Some of that implicates an art. There's a little bit of a science to that. So, being flexible in your tactics. And I think a part and parcel of that would be understanding the timing of engagements. So you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
And every engagement has, can basically be distilled into 3 different types of timing. And that would be behind time, equal time, and ahead of time. So behind time would be
say it again.
All right. So every engagement can be distilled with or can be looked at in a sequence of timing, and there's 3 timings, or that every engagement can be categorized in, and that is behind time, equal time, and ahead of time. So behind time would be if you are ambushed, right? If you are walking down the street and someone comes off to your blind side, and this is stick up, give me all your money, or they clock you on the side of the head and sucker punch you, whatever that is, an ambush. Everybody in the military appreciates the nature of the ambush because they train it, they drill it, and and are aware of that dynamic. People in the in the civilian world, not so much. Even in the martial arts world, I mean, well, let me get to the timings, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Equal time would be where both aggressors or both combatants go at the same time. So in military parlance, that would be a chance contact. We've got one group moving, the good guys are moving here, the opposition force is coming out here, and they're both kind of patrolling, and they think, the other person's out there, but they're not sure. And then all of a sudden, here they go. They see each other and hostilities commence. A chance contact, we go at the same time. And then ahead of time would be an assault. So I'm assaulting. I go first. I'm in fear of my life. I see the guy reaching for the gun. I pull mine first. I mean, we can keep going on. Yeah. And so now, if we don't have time to get into OODA loop and Boyd and all that stuff, but that's kind of tied in with some of that concept is once you understand, none of these patterns are necessarily set. They can evolve. The timings can change. The one person who was behind time might equal or get ahead of time, which is always your goal. And, these are very fluid concepts, right? And so we teach you to recognize these timings, to understand them. And once you can see it and you understand it, then you begin to manipulate it, and you can actually reset the tempo of the engagement. And when you control that, you control everything. You don't have to be stronger, and you don't have to be faster. Probably the biggest mistake in studying this would be to think of timing in terms of just speed. You don't have to be faster than someone to reset the timing. So those types of things, it's easier to show that than to describe it. You have to kind of see it. So we do that in our classes. And that's true in gunfights, fist fights, knife fights. The closer the combat, the more readily you can see that, But those controlling that tempo. And then 4 would be combat power, which is your ability to fight and to apply force decisively. Number 4 is probably where you get on technique. I mean, that's probably the closest thing on technique. related to tactics. And so I would say, a lot of folks probably spend most of their time on principle 4, or some version of that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't just have that.
When you look out amongst the the training spectrum, and if anybody on the live chat wants to hop in, please ask a question. But as you look at it on the training spectrum, what are some things that you say, as an instructor, this like drives me absolutely batty?
That's probably some of that we just covered, were people that are setting their students up for failure, by giving them a false sense of where their skills are. Well, here's one right here is people talking about mindset a lot, the combat mindset and stuff like that. And so, I have a lot of people, everybody talks about it, but I mean, how do you get mindset? I mean, how do you get, what is that? What is mindset, and where does that come from? And I mean, I certainly can't put words in other people's mouth, but I hear a lot of people talk about it, but I don't hear many people telling me how you get it. And some people out there are dressing up targets and T-shirts and pretending or trying to psych themselves up and create this mindset. Comes from rigorous training, challenging training, and validating that training. That's where your mindset comes from. Once you have trained it and have acquired the skill, you have to validate it. If you don't validate it, then you're always going to be unsure of yourself. You're always going to wonder, could I really do that if the time comes? How do I know this works? How do I know I could do that? And the reason why people, if they're honest with their friends or themselves at least, why they have that is because they don't have the mindset, because they've got the first part, hopefully, where they've trained the skill, but they haven't validated it. And so we have a lot of people doing, this pressure testing or stress testing. And that's most of, well, I'm not going to speak to all of it, but a lot of it, what I've seen, it's nonsense. So having a compliant partner is not pressure testing, or it's not validating. Having someone let you do the technique, even if they give you a little resistance, that's not validating your skill. So you're going to have to, the best way with firearms, the only way you can truly validate you validate your skill through, if you hit the target, you validate your tactical acumen and your ability to apply your skill through force on force. I mean, other than going into combat and coming back out on the other side and living, most people don't have that opportunity or wouldn't sign up for it. So if you can't go into combat, then the closest thing would be force on force.
Would you discount, though? Let's say, for instance, in Leavenworth, for this happened within the last 6 months. I believe it's been within the last year. 74-year-old lady had a man, home invasion, shot him in the face with a .22 LR, and shot him dead. Yeah. She had a massive heart attack after that. But do you discount just the raw human mindset that, you know what, I'm going to kick your butt?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. I don't discount that at all. In fact, I've written about that before, is that, your will to prevail is like the human factor in a close quarter engagement is always the wild card. That's the one thing the enemy cannot prepare for. You know what I mean? Like, if he knows you got locks on your doors, or a burglar alarm or something, he can try to circumvent that system. He can try to get you out alone. He can try to wait till you're away from public. People, predators can plan around a lot of your defenses, but the one thing they can't plan around, they can't fully appreciate and take into account, is your will to survive, your human will to prevail. So that's a whole different thing. I'm not talking about that. That's an innate my will to do it. That's different than having the confidence that I know I can do what I need to do. There's a lot of people that'll say they would do it. A lot of people will talk and say, man, if somebody does that, man, I'll, two in the chest, one in the head. I mean, maybe, but unless you have validated that, you don't know if you can do that. And it's same thing with the physical combative skills. Unless you can validate that with full speed and full power, you're always going to be wondering about that. The exception on that with empty hands would probably be like the MMA guys. I know a lot of people say, well, on the street, there's no rules and stuff. I will give that to those guys, to the MMA guys, that's about as close as you can really validate your physical skills, even though it's confined within a ring and with certain rules, because they are doing it with full speed and full power. But now when you get into weaponry like knives and things like that, it's certain, you have to find ways to validate that. And we can show you how to do that. I mean, in our system, we validate that. You'll know you can do it. You'll know. So, but the MMA guys, they have an argument and a leg to stand on as far as validating their skills, because they do it full speed, full power at the range. And, a lot of these other combative arts, I mean, they don't validate it. They don't know they can make it work. I mean, unless they've been in a fight and made it work, but they don't know that.
Now let's pose it to the person, like we talked about at the very beginning, that may step into class and say, I've got physical limitations and et cetera, and put that into that concept or into that mold. Whether it be, they've got a bum leg, or they've got, bum arm, or, I had a professor in college that he had one eyeball, because one of them was taken out when he was a kid.
We train people like that all the time.
And so how do we, I mean, putting those people, those are the everyman, the six pack, Joe six packs.
Yeah.
How do we deal with those dudes and ladies?
Yeah. Well, that's when the tactics become even more important, right? I mean, that's when they become more important. That's when you really have to have a tactical mindset and be able to understand and appreciate range and timing and things like that. I mean, that's how you overcome your infirmities. I mean, otherwise, what's the alternative? The alternative is what?
Oh, lose and die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Mark Artman, he chimes in here on the live chat. Says, "Hi, Mark." I guess do you know Mark Artman?
Yeah, he's from Pennsylvania. He's come through a lot of our training up in Pennsylvania, and he was just at our rifle 1 and 2 this live. Right. Happy birthday, Mark!
All right,
good to hear from you, bro.
Good to have you, Mark. Yeah. You got through the 4 things. I know we're getting about an hour here. I'll give you a chance to kind of advertise the wares, if you will.
Well, if you've hung out long enough to listen to this on April 27, 28, Tallgrass Shooting Sports has been kind enough and gracious enough to host us for our tactical carbine and pistol course. It's 2 days. We kind of mentioned that earlier. It's regular $400, but we have an early bird special that is good until either we sell off the slots or April 15th.
How many are left, by the way?
4 slots are left. Can you see 4 slots? It's $299 right now until April 15th, or we sell those 4 remaining slots. And once that happens, then we're going to make a decision on either, we sell them at full price or we just close it down. So it's just going to depend on a couple of logistical things I'm checking into. But that's it. Other than that, we're going to have a full class already.
And there's already, there's 10 or 12 already.
Yeah, yeah, and it's already it's still a month away, and it's already about sold out. So I would, if you're at all interested in what we've been talking about, you're gonna have to just come and experience it for yourself. Go to barritusdefense.com and go to our schedule events, top right hand corner of the website. Just click that button, scroll down there, and I mean, everybody has bought something online, so you know what to do. Just keep clicking buttons until you can't click anymore.
And you're on the you're on the grams, and
Instagram as the underscore Barritus, I think is how I, you know, or should be under my name too, Mark Booher, Booher. You can find me on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We're having to repair what Mark Zuckerberg did to us after we changed our, not him personally, but you know, when we changed our Facebook page, we you know, we lost a lot of followers. We couldn't migrate that page over, so we started from scratch. And you know how their algorithms are; they want you to buy it. So yeah, check us out. We post a lot of stuff. You know, check out our website, sign up for our newsletter. You know, this stuff that I'm talking about. We send things out like this to our subscribers on a regular basis.
And I can attest to that. I'm on your newsletter list and get those articles. They also, you know, the counter ambush stuff. If there are LEO folks that are listening or going to watch this later, there's folks that watch our stuff later on after it's been you know, aired live.
Yeah.
But how can, you know, explain that a little bit, the counter ambush, and how they can.
It's a counter ambush tactics instructor course. So it's a certification course. You're going to get some materials that will help you really design your own training regimen for your department or agency. I mean, our goal with this course is not just to have people just kind of come and take the class and learn a couple things. I mean, our course is, we want to turn you into the force multiplier for your department. We want you to come in, learn these tactics, learn these principles, and then take them back to your department or agency and train your guys on this stuff. You know, 3 days is not really long enough, but it is long, you know, as it needs to be, but it's, you know, but everybody's constrained by budgets and stuff like that. So we decided 3 days, we will give you, you know, the framework to then go back and train this stuff on. Once you have the framework, though, you really do take off. As you know, you can make as many training scenarios as you want. You know, you don't have to come to us for ideas on training scenarios. Once you understand the tactics and the you know, your strategy and timing and tempo of the engagement, once you kind of get all that stuff down, then you know you're gonna be an awesome asset to your department or to your agency. I mean, the LEOs need that. They need it bad. We've got tons of videos that we watch where, you know, guys are just being killed and just needlessly. It's just they're not getting what they need in the academy. And I mean, there are some guys who know, especially guys that have been in the military, that have been exposed to this. They tend to do really well, but you know, there's really a small portion of the population that served in the military. So, you know, these guys are not getting it in the academy, and they need it bad.
And this is not just dropping out of thin air either. I mean, you have, you know, the resume that you do have with, you know, being a former prosecutor, and you've taught at Fort Bragg actually as a civilian, or not as a civilian, but as a reservist and stuff. I mean, it's and then just a lot of experience coming to the table. So it's not just something you dropped out of thin air.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you know, we are not, I mean, I didn't mention that in the bio, but yeah, I've taught, well, I said Department of Defense. I mean, I've taught at Fort Bragg. I've taught military units. I've done as a contractor out there. And so, yeah, I mean, we, you know, we have a really tight connection with the LEOs out there. I've been to over 60 departments, and you know, the law enforcement are near and dear to our hearts. It is important to understand that we are bringing universal tactics for the law enforcement officers, but it's not going to violate their rules of engagement or their use of force, rules of engagement for military, but use of force for within their departmental SOPs. You integrate this in. That's why it's principles. That means they're universal principles. So it's not necessarily just a focus on techniques. Gets back to that discussion earlier. So that's important to clear up. But yeah, if there's any LEOs that are or security people, it's also good for people who security companies, executive protection people would. I've been talking to to a company in Florida. They've expressed interest in it. It's viable for all. So all they got to do is just get with me, either barritusdefense.com, email me at info@barritusdefense.com, or just hit us up on the website, Facebook, and we will get you information.
Awesome. Well, hey, before we go, I want to do a little live fire. And I didn't tell you about this.
No.
Do a little live fire and ask you just some fun questions, and so people get to know you a little bit better. What is your favorite gun movie of all time?
Oh man, my favorite gun movie. Well, the lawyer in me, of course, is going to say define what you mean by gun movie, but I'm going to just assume. Man, I'll tell you what. I mean, those John Wick movies, man, are hard to beat. I mean, right? I mean, those things that's some high octane stuff. It's pretty cool. And
so you're a John Wick man.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I are pretty excited about John Wick 3 coming out. So we're pretty excited about that. Yeah.
And now, what is your favorite ice cream?
My favorite ice cream, man. It's weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I grew up, I would always be a vanilla guy. I know that sounds so boring. I would eat vanilla shakes, vanilla ice cream. And then, I don't know, like 3 years ago, I've discovered chocolate ice cream, and it's like incredible. So, like awesome. Green chocolate, fudge, double, death by chocolate, all that stuff. I mean, I will just devour it. It's amazing. Yeah.
And I won't go there. I'll give you one gear question that probably people are going to ask.
Yeah.
If you had to own just one pistol for the rest of your life, what would it be?
My Glock 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
A guy that lives not very far from Nighthawk or Wilson Combat.
Yeah. I mean, my Glock 17. I love it. I love it.
Gizzard Gary says hello, everybody. Gizzard Gary, brother, you're almost late to the show, man. We're almost done, but good to have you.
Yeah.
But just a little bit. I know Mark has just a great family. His wife and what you have two daughters.
Oh,
yeah, I was trying to think if there was three. For some reason there was three in my head. But
I got two. They're both going into their teenager years, so you can pray for me because it's.
But so Mark is going to be again at Tallgrass Shooting Sports in outside Manhattan. And by the way, I think I do work for them. For all disclosures, I do social media work for Mike Irvin and Tallgrass Shooting Sports. And if you need lodging, please get a hold of Tallgrass Shooting Sports. And they have great lodging opportunities up there at the ranch because they are about 15 minutes outside of Manhattan. So, or well, more than 15 minutes actually. But so check that out. And one final thing, you have to bring your own lunch.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of out there, so that is one of the that's kind of the way to keep it down. We were thinking about like including that in the fee and stuff like that. It just got cost prohibitive, so just brown bag it. That's what I'm gonna do, and it's good times, man. We'll sit around and eat sandwiches together. It'll be awesome.
There's a porta potty out there too. I know that. I've been out there.
Hey, there you go, man. Now we're really in business.
See, you don't have to go dig a hole in the ground. It's okay. But all right. Well, nobody else had any more questions. excuse me, but we're about 9 minutes over here. But I know it's getting close to your bedtime. But
Yeah.
no, just joking.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to add though before we go? The things people want to get a hold of you or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, just barritusdefense.com, and we're looking forward to bringing this up to Kansas. We're really excited about it.
We're glad that you're going to get the AR out of the way and just go Kansas, brother.
That's right.
Yeah, you need to, yeah, and come to the free state.
Yeah.
Free state of Kansas. We're also probably Mark may be involved in some future live fire segments, just to give us his perspective in the world of firearms. But I know we've had guys like Steve Fisher, love Steve Fisher, Sentinel Concepts. And we've had yes, the Gunflower State. That's right, Gary. We've had John Correa. We've had man, who else have we had on? I was trying to think, but Chuck Haggard, the legendary lawman out of Topeka, man. So we if we get all these guys together, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And to get you guys on, I know Matt Landfair over at Primary and Secondary, he's blessed with a lot of people that he gets to have on, but we've been blessed too to have other folks. But maybe will you come on some other time?
Yeah.
I've never asked you that. Would you come on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Well, brother, it's been good to have you. And here on, I hope the Kansas gun community has been educated tonight a little bit. And also, if you want to get out there and train with Mark at Tallgrass Shooting Sports right outside Manhattan, get on the stick. It is let's say that's it's almost a month from today.
It's a month away, but the early bird special is gonna go away in a couple weeks. So
yeah, so you got to get on the stick if you all want to get out there. It's $2.99 till April 15th, or until the 4 slots that are left are filled.
Yep.
But so get on the stick. It's about a month away, and it's so good that the weather. Thank God that the cold right now is gone. I was done with winter, man. So hopefully it'll be good for you when you come up. So
yeah, awesome.
We're gonna sign off for right now. Y'all, as always, I say this at the end of every video and all the time, or try to anyhow, is stay Kansas proud, you guys, and do what's right and be prepared. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bro. Thank you.